Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's very special program, Emergency Worldwide Tehillim Reading. We're going to be greatly honored to hear some divrei Chizuk from Rabbi Zechariah Wallerstein, followed by some divrei Chizuk and a few chapters of Tehillim from Rabbi Benzion Klatzko. We want to remind everyone that everyone should not only should everyone who's watching right now or listening in should get the Chizuk and to the Tehillim together, but you should also share the link right now, so not only can you, your friends, neighbors, relatives can all be inspired, and we can all join in ba'achdas tonight and together with Tehillim and Chizuk. Everyone should share the link. You can watch right now, torahanytime.com/Tehillim. Again, torahanytime.com/Tehillim, or you could call into this amazing program right now. 718-298-2077, extension 42. Again, 718-298-2077, extension 42. We want to thank the amazing organizations for helping put together tonight's very special program, the Chazaq organization, in conjunction with Hakel, Shabbat.com, or Nava, and Daily Giving. And as we know, Daily Giving is an unbelievable organization. Right now, there's the $6,000 every single day. There's over 6,000 people signed up for daily giving. So every single day, over $6,000 is being given to over 40 different organizations each day. The over $6,000 being given. It's amazing, and everyone should sign up at dailygiving.org. Definitely be a great schus merit for the situation in Eretz Yisrael. And it is our great honor to call upon Rabbi Zechariah Wallerstein for some divrei Chizuk. Rabbi Wallerstein, the founder of Ornava. Thank you so much, Rabbi Wallerstein.
Thank you very much, Chazaq. Thank you, Torah Anytime. Really appreciate what you're doing this evening. Hold on one second. I have to get information on my speech. Okay, we wanted to know if it was Achav or Yeravam. Okay, so who am I to, give any reasons for anything? But I would like to share with everyone who's listening some of the things that I've heard from very, very big tzaddikim. Hello, Rabbi Klatzko. Good to see you. Some very, very big tzaddikim in Eretz Yisrael. So a lot of people are asking, like, what happened to Meron? It's so hard to understand. It happened by Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, unlike Ba'omer. And now what's going on in Eretz Yisrael with Hamas, it's like all of a sudden in a very short period of time during Sfira, like it's really getting really hard, and it's getting very hard on Klatzko. So I'm not going to tell you why, and I know there's a lot of people coming out. It's women's sheitel. I don't think there's anyone that can say exactly what it is, but it's brought down in all the svarim that if you want to know why a certain part of your body hurts, it's probably something you did with that certain part of your body. So if your ear hurts, maybe it was lashon hara. If your hand hurts, maybe you hit someone. So you need to look at what happened and try to see in it the midah keneged midah. And on top of that, no matter, this is very important what I'm about to say, everybody. No matter what anyone says Klal Yisrael is doing wrong, and we don't want to be makatrik, and they're pointing fingers at talking by davening and all this other stuff. No matter what they're saying, even if they're right, it's brought down in a lesson a day in Shmiras HaLashon, from Chafetz Chaim, that when David HaMelech went to war against the Plishtim, even though he won, he lost a lot of soldiers. But when Achav, who, I'm not sure if it was Achav or Yeravam, who were the worst kings, they put avodah zara idols on every corner in Eretz Yisrael and in the Beis Hamikdash. Oivdei avodah zara on a level that Klal Yisrael never saw before. And they went to war against the Plishtim. The Chafetz Chaim says they won and didn't lose one soldier. Ask the Chafetz Chaim. I don't understand. David HaMelech, a king where there was no avodah zara, who wrote Tehillim on the level of who David HaMelech was, when he went to war, he lost people, and these were Rishayim. Zara. Can you believe going to war and not one man got killed? So the Chafetz Chaim says, and he brings down, I don't have it in front of me, but he brings down that there were generals in David HaMelech's army that spoke Lashon Hara behind his back on each other. They didn't get along. There wasn't Achdus. But by these kings who were Avodah Zara, they didn't talk Lashon Hara, but they also got along by Achdus. And therefore, not one of them died. So we see from here, everybody, that if every rabbi who gave a reason for this terrible situation that's happening, and maybe they're all right, but if we were ba'achdus, even if the whole nation was Avodah Zara, Hashem would sit in his kisei rachamim, because when his children are ba'achdus, he sits in his kisei rachamim. And no matter how much Torah we learn, and no matter how many mitzvahs we do, if we don't get along with each other, he sits in his kisei of din. So whatever reason you want to accept, for people who are saying, the really big people are not saying, but whatever reason you want to accept, if we would be ba'achdus, doesn't matter what Klal Yisrael, no matter how bad we would be, if we were ba'achdus, Hashem would sit in his kisei rachamim. What we see from Meron and we see from COVID, we lost more than 45 people in COVID, and good people, and tzaddikim, and gedolim, and goyim chesed, and people from the Holocaust, more than 45, probably more than 4,500. So there's a lot of din in the world. So if we would just get along with each other, then even if we weren't doing what we were supposed to, Chafetz Chaim says, Kodesh Baruch Hu would sit in rachamim. We need to give each other room to breathe. We need to give each other room to breathe. In Meron, they didn't have room to breathe. We need to be less makpid that the guy is on my property and this and that and competition and in Shidduchim, the boys have to have pictures of the girls, and all this stuff is stuff that separates us from each other. We need to give each other room to breathe. And we need not to demonstrate against each other. I was very worried when I saw pictures of the fight between the Israeli police and all the people that were in these, I think they're called hafganot, and rioting, and I saw Jews hitting Jews, and fires being thrown at each other and burning tires, and I was very worried because that's not Achdus. And now, the real enemy, because Jews are not the enemies of the Jews. The Arabs are doing exactly the same thing. Burning tires, fighting with the police. They're doing exactly the same thing that Hashem is telling us. They're your enemies. There's the Hafkanah. That's what you want. Those are your enemies. Look what they're doing. Jews are not enemies of each other. Even if you're Avodah Zara, not one person will die because you're ba'achdus. Because you let the other person live. So I don't know what you have to work on. I'm not big enough to tell you that. But for sure, no matter what we're doing wrong, if we're ba'achdus, Hashem will sit in his kisei rachamim. And, he was saying before about daily giving, I know Jonathan Donat, the one who started daily giving. It's like the greatest achdus. It's like everyone just gives $1. And now he's getting $6,000 a day, which comes out to like $2 million. And they're giving tzedakah, not to one organization because I like that organization. I don't know, 40, 60, maybe more. They don't take any money from on top. That makes Hashem happy. Because most of the people that give to daily giving, you don't even know where it's going. He doesn't take any money. There's no up top secretaries and all that, right? So people are just giving money, and that money is going to Hasidic thing and literature thing and sick kids and pregnancies and marriages and weddings, and it's going all over the place. And that's what a father wants. A father wants to see his kids get together, not throw fire at each other and hit each other and beat each other. It's not what a father wants. So the Chavetz Chaim, we're talking about the Chavetz Chaim said they were Rishayim, but they were together as one gang. Not one soldier got killed. Wow. A lesson for all of us that are listening here. So whatever you think the reason is, it doesn't matter, because if we can fix that, then we fixed everything. And it's very interesting that we're standing in front of Shavuos, and everyone that's watching this knows, I don't have the pasuk in front of me, that when we stood in front of Har Sinai, we were belev echad, nefesh echad and belev echad. And the greatness of Klal Yisrael by Har Sinai is we were one. Because be makabel the Torah, you have to be one, Klal Yisrael. And that's what Hashem wants. And therefore, the rioting of the Jewish people in the streets has stopped. And we know now that we're not each other's enemies. Hashem's saying, you're not each other's enemies. Those guys, the Arabs, those are your enemies. They don't care about you. You need to care about each other. You need to love each other. You need to care about each other. I just want to read you all, and then I'll give it over to Rabbi Klatzko. Amazing, I'm talking about it a whole week. Amazing Megillat Rus. To show you who the father, great-grandfather of David HaMelech was, and the great-great-grandfather, the seed of Moshiach, came from Boaz. What was special about Boaz? Okay, he was the gadol, he was the head of the shoftim, but why him? So I want to tell you why him. When he comes to the field, what does he say to his workers? Boaz, Hashem imachem. God should be with you. What did they answer? Yivarechecha Hashem. Hashem should bless you. He didn't come and say, why are you sitting on the fence? Let me see how much work you did. Why am I paying you all this money? No. God should be with you. It's all about Hashem. When you treat other people that way, what are you going to get back from them? Negativity? No. You're going to get back. Yivarechecha Hashem. Hashem should bless you. I was telling you the shir last night when I spoke. I said, if a father comes home at night and he sees his wife and his kids and he says, Hashem imachem, Hashem should be with you, or in the morning when you're going to work and your kids are going to yeshiva and you tell your kids Hashem imachem, what are they going to say? Yivarech Hashem, Hashem should bless you. What a different relationship. You think those kids are going to go off the derech? You think you probably with shalom bias? No. So Boaz walked in. He didn't say hello. He didn't wait till they say, hey, I'm the boss, say hello to me. He gave them a bracha. But it gets much deeper. So now the Gadol Hador meets this girl because she's a tznuah, right? And he says to her, this is the sentence, first words. Gadol Hador to a goyish girl. If she was a ger at that point. Most told she wasn't even a ger. So this is a goyish girl, and Boaz, a Gadol Hador, meets her. What does he say? Boaz el Rus. Hello, Shamat Biti. I heard about you, my daughter. What? My daughter? It wasn't his daughter. She wasn't even Jewish. My daughter. Acceptance. Recognition. And he tells her, don't go to another field. And she falls on her face. Why did I find favor in your eyes? Why did you give me recognition? I'm not even Jewish. I'm a stranger. And he said something which we all should focus on Shavuos, and bring Hashem back to his Kisei Rachamim. And he said, Vayam Boaz, you want to know why I'm giving you attention and recognition? Because I heard about your pain. I heard what you went through. I heard what you did for your mother-in-law, but Mois Ishech, your husband died. But Tazvi Avich, you left your father, the Imech and your mother, the Eretz Moladecha, and the land of your forefathers, and you came to a nation that hates you. The Medrash says that they threw her over the fence, the boys. That's why he said the boys won't touch you anymore. He said, the reason I'm giving you attention is because you're struggling, because you had trauma. So I'm not looking at the kid in the street that has the short skirt and maybe a couple of nose rings, or the boy that's sitting on the corner and he's being Mechal Shabbos. I'm not looking at that, he said to her. You know why I'm giving you attention? Because I'm not looking at that. I am looking at your pain and those nose rings and not keeping Shabbos and being off the derech and smoking pot and doing whatever you're doing. That's not you. That's not you. It's your pain. You hear what Boaz is saying in Megillas Rus? Now, who says she was in pain? Next pasuk, and we'll end with this. By Talmud, she says to Boaz, I find favor in your eyes. Why? Because you consoled me. Consoled means I was in pain, and you consoled me. And you spoke to my heart. We have to start talking to each other's hearts, not to their brains, to their hearts. And here's the big line. And because you did that, I'm not going to be a regular person. I'm going to be Aim HaMalchus. From Moav, Nachriya, to be Aim HaMalchus. Why? Because some Jewish man looked at my pain and said, I see what you're going through, so I'll treat you like my daughter. You want this all to stop, everyone who's watching? That's how we have to treat each other. That's the father of Mashiach. That's what we need to do. We need to get Hashem back into Kisei Rachamim. All the other stuff and the reasons, I don't know. But I do know how to get Hashem back into Kisei Rachamim. The Chofetz Chaim says, Bi ba'achdus. So my message to everyone watching tonight, be ba'achdus in your family, between husband and wife, shalom, between children and parents and children, between all the guys in shul together, between all the women, between all the neighborhoods, Dati, Lo Dati, Sfardi, Ashkenazi. Hashem doesn't even like those names because we are all Biti and the Banim of Hashem. He doesn't like Sfardi, Ashkenazi, Hasidish, Litvish. That's separation. That's not what you want when you sit at your Shabbos table and the kids, each kid is different and they're not getting along. You don't even want to sit at the table. You want to go upstairs to your room. Well, that's how Hashem feels when we treat each other that way. So let's bring him back to his Kisei Rachamim. And let's bring back Matan Torah when we were Ki Ish Echad, B'Lev Echad. Thank you for listening. And I now give over to Rabbi Klatzko.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Zechariah Wallerstein. A message that is timeless and certainly for Shavuos, something that we could be makabel on ourselves to change the equation, to change the Gzar Din. Absolutely. So I'm going to give you a thought, a rayon, and then afterwards we're going to say some Tehillim. I have a son who lives in Eretz Yisrael. I have a few children. And one of them calls me and he says, Tati, what do I make of this? How do I understand this? You're standing there and the air raid sirens are going off and the rockets are coming in and it's scary and some rockets have penetrated and the Iron Dome has not been foolproof. And what do we make of this? So there are actually two layers of yira that we have as people who are involved who are watching what's going on in the news and in the world. Level number one, is the fact that missiles can kill, and they have killed. And not just that, but lynchings, pogroms, things that we haven't seen, that maybe in my lifetime, certainly in Eretz Yisrael, where you've got bands of Arabs going through the streets, stabbing and shooting and Chalila, burning Sefer Torah and burning Bata Midrashim. There's one level of fear that's very visceral. We see it and it's scary. But I think that human nature is, we say, okay, but at the end of the day, they've thrown 1,500 missiles at us and 7 people were killed. And that's, every person killed is a olam b'fnei atzmam. But, 1,500 missiles, most of them aren't going through. And you even see videos of Israelis pointing out, woo, is a yofi, as they're watching like a fireworks show. Scary. The noise is loud. It does penetrate. There are images, but Be'ez Hashem, we know that Hamas doesn't stand a chance. We know that. But there's another level, another layer of fear that is that's very real. And that layer is when we see how the world is reacting, and the anti-Semitism is rearing its ugly head in a startling way. And the halacha of Esav son of Yaakov, which it seemed for a while that America was somewhat immune to, we're beginning to see that it's not so. That even the stalwart, quote unquote, friend of Israel has a nice chalik of Congress that wants to impugn Israel. And some of them are out and out anti-Semitic, and no one's saying anything. Things that a few years ago could have gotten them kicked out of Congress. Now they're just saying out there in Congress, in the streets, in their speeches. And I would say that in a certain way, that's more worrying to us when we see this blatant anti-Semitism that we thought the kaparas of the Holocaust took care of. We had a lot of credit with the world. We should have had a lot of credit. And yet a mere 70 years later, the world has forgotten all the lessons and all the images of Dachau and Buchenwald and Auschwitz. And instead, it's speaking about cutting off the heads of Jews, and no one's there to defend us. So I want to say something that should give us tremendous chizuk. And this is what I told my son in Eretz Yisrael. Human beings are human beings. We all have noses and eyes and ears. Of course, a yid has a neshama. On the ground, what makes one person different than the other? What makes them act differently? And the answer is, we are a product of our values. Our values dictate everything about us. It dictates how we treat people. Do we speak about Lashon Hara as a value? That's a value. Rabbi Wallerstein just spoke about Achdus as a value. That's a value that we have. And when you have a value, it means you're planting your flag in history by saying, this is what I represent. Now, there's a word that has gone around the media the past few years. It's not a word that I grew up with, but the word is woke, W-O-K-E, woke. They did not invent that word. Uru yeshena mishinaschem, woke, to wake up. The Rambam speaks about it. Many others do. Ura chavoidi ura, woke. But the world's version of woke is different. The world's version of woke is to have Rachmanis on the Russia, on the Achzari. It is to put down everything of Kedusha as if it's nonsense. whether it's marriage or who we are allowed to have sexual relationships with, whether drugging ourselves up with pot is something that should be okay, or whether we should exercise self-control. There is this concept called woke, and unfortunately, even amongst our brothers and sisters, I've seen a little bit of a shift. Things that we had clarity in, that were not okay, that were usser, that are aveiros, that are black and white in the Torah, all of a sudden we're woke. Okay, let's understand, let's appreciate, live and let live. The way that values shift is not dramatic. It's not all of a sudden. It's inch by inch, centimeter by centimeter, what we consider to be okay and not okay, who we're apologetic for. We have to understand that the world's version of woke is treif chazer. It's treif. I'll tell you something. This great looming fear that we have when we watch the media of the world distort emes so blatantly. It used to be the way you fought against it was you would show hypocrisy, but showing hypocrisy has no effect anymore. So what? I'm a hypocrite. So the world, this world that has shown itself to be anti-Eretz Yisrael and very much anti-Torah and very much anti-Jew, this is coming from the woke segment. I'm going to tell you something. History has shown that if you're against the Jews, you will go down in history as an evil nation. There's no exceptions to this rule. The Jewish people are the canary in the coal mine. Where Yidden are, we're the Bechir Hashem, we are the B'ni B'chori Yisrael. And when you take the Jewish people's side, history will be kind to you. And when you're against the Jewish people, you will go down as evil. There's no woke. There's no modern way of thinking. There's just evil. And in case this became ambiguous, in case we became a little bit fuzzy about, is it really okay? Do we have to be makbid about marriages? And do we have to be makbid about, someone running for governor and they were a man and they were a woman? Do we have to be makbid when it comes to legalizing all of these things that we had so much clarity about? The clarity began to dissipate. Be aware that wokeness is connected to those who are against Klal Yisrael, and it itself, its values will go down as evil values. So I told my son, it's not us versus Hamas. It's not even us versus the media. It is the value of Torah that we're about to be makabel in a few days. It's those values versus the value of the goy, versus the value of those who on the outside may look dignified like the Germans did, and they have their Armani suits, and they drive fancy cars, and they live in penthouses, and they've got a corner office, and they have all the trappings of a civilized civilization, but they're nothing but evil. That's not good. That's not who we are, and we stay away from it. I didn't think my point tonight was to explain why these things are happening. The truth is, Vayidam Aaron has always been good advice. We don't know. We don't know why Meron happened, just like Aaron did not know why Nadav and Avihu had to pass away. What do you mean he didn't know? The Gemara gives multiple reasons. Did Aaron know as much as the Gemara? You can be sure Aaron did. Aaron knew what the Gemara said. He knew they were drunk, or maybe they're maybe they brought an Ashar. Aaron knew the Gemara. But even so, Aaron Vayidom, he didn't say it's because of this, because of that, because really, Mod Amkumach Shvosecha Ishbar Lo Yeda. Hashem's ways are very deep. But we can take a step back and say, Ashreinu Matov Chalkenu. Thank you, Hashem, for making me a Yid. Thank you for giving me values. When the Goyim lynch, they are cheered on by their clergy. They're cheered on by their imams. They're cheered on by their radio and by their leaders. Kill the Jews. When the Jews step out of character and they reciprocate in kind, the Rabbanim, the Gedolim, even the prime minister gets up and says, don't go down that route. You know why? Because we're not a Gentile, we're a Jew. And if we give up our values, then we are like them. Our values is what the battle is. Okay, so now we're going to say some Tehillim. We have to have Rachmanis on Klal Yisrael. Just be aware, even if most of the missiles are not landing, there are people who have tremendous anxiety. There are people who, millions of people are being woken up multiple times a night in great fear, hiding out in a bunker, hearing the explosions around them. When we can't feel safe where we live, it's a frightening thing. And we need the real Iron Dome, which is Hashem, to make sure that the Iron Dome that's there doesn't malfunction like it did 2 days ago when all sorts of missiles did land. We need it to remain steady, and we need our troops to be safe if they do have to go into Gaza. And we need to kill out the enemy, and we should daven that the enemy in Hamas and the heads of Hamas should be dead. We should daven, not that they should do tshuva. These are not Yidden. We should daven. We should say, Hashem, you don't want evil in the world. These are evil people. We have the right to daven as such. Their values are jihad, and our values are shalom, just like the name of Hashem. Okay, we're going to say some Tehillim. I'm going to post it. Share our screen. Okay, we're going to say 4 kapitlach of Tehillim. Lamanatseach mizmar leDavid. Please say with me, the koach of the tzibur is very powerful. Yancha Adonai b'yoyim tzara, yisagev chashem alei Yaakov, yishlach ezecha mikodesh, umitzion yisodeka, yizkor kol min chosecha, yoylascha yidash nesela, hitein lecha chilvavecha v'chalad soscha yimalei, neran b'shuasecha v'shem alei nenidigoil, yimalei Adonai kol mishat leisecha, ata yodat kesh Adonai mishichoi, yaneyu mishmei kodsho b'gvurois, yesha yimino yelev orechev, yelev asusim, v'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu nazkir, hey, Makaru v'nofalu, v'anachnu kamnu v'nisardod, Adonai Yoshia, Hamelech yaneinu v'yom kareinu. Hashem will save us. Hashem will answer us on the day that we call out to Him, and that day is today. We're going to share the next kapitel Tehillim now. Shilamalois, Esa Einai Eleorim, may I in Yava Yazri, Azri may Madrino, Yohisei, Shamayim Varetz, Ayitain, La Moidrag Lecha, Al Yanum Shemrecha, Hine Lo Yanum, Lo Yishon, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Shemrecha, Adonai Tzilchal Yadiminecha. Yoima Mashemesh lo yakek of Yoreach Paloila Adonai Yishmorcha Mikol Ro Yishmor Es Navshecha Adonai Yishmor Tzescha Uvoyecha Meyatov Yadoilam. Say the third kapitel now. Shema lois mimamakim karosicha Adonai Adonai Shema b'koliti yenos nechakas shvois lekoil tachanunoi imavoinois tishmoyo Adonai miyamoid kim chas licha leman tivarei kivisi Adonai kivason avshi v'lid v'roy yocholti navshi Adonai mi shoymrim laboiker shoymrim laboiker Yachel Yisrael El Adonai Kim Adonai Chesed. There are harbe my fedus. V'yivtes Yisrael mikol avoinosav. We say Yachel Yisrael al Hashem. Hope to Hashem. Hope to Hashem. Wait for Hashem. Nafshel Hashem Rishon LaBoker. We're like the watchman who waits for the morning. Sham LaBoker. We wait. We wait. We hope that Hashem will watch us, not give us another scary night. Now we're going to say the fourth capital. Maskil LeDavid, V'yosai be'ameras tefillah, Koili el Adonai Yezok, Koili el Adonai Yezchanon, Eshpoich lefanav sichi tzarasi, lefanav agid, V'hisatef alai ruchi v'yato yodata nesivasi, V'yorach zu alech tom nufachli, Habeit yamin uriyeh v'yein li makir, Avad manois mimeni oderesh l'nafshi. Zakti lecha Adonai amarti atamachsi. Chalki b'eretz hachayim. Hakshiv el rinasi kidalois mioid. Hatzileni meroid fai ki yomtzu mimeni. Haitzia mimazker nafshi. Lioidois es shemecha. Biaktiru tzadikim kisik moiloloi. We say, Abeit Yamin Re'eh Ve'en Li Makir. We look to our right, our left, all those supposed friends of Klal Yisrael, the ones that have our back. Avad Manois Mimeni. It was lost. My refuge. Ein Deresh L'Nafshi. Who's going to look out for me? We have no one but Hashem. Hashem will look out for Klal Yisrael, and Klal Yisrael will be safe. Achenu kol beis Yisrael misim batzara v'ashivya. When by Bayama, they by Shamakim Rachma Leim, Fiotziam Mitzara, Lerach Methel, Mishib Gula, Hashta Bagalov is Man Karif and Oimar. Amen.
Rabbi Klatzko, thank you very much. Just while you were speaking, I had a thought. You're speaking to your son in Eretz Yisrael, that the air raid sirens wakes them up in the middle of the night, in the middle of Gullus, right? The air raid siren is sort of like the shofar. Wakes up everybody, and what does it cause? Causes all the Jews to go into shelter, right? What's the shelter? They're all together. Religious, not religious, old, young, it doesn't make a difference. In the shelter, it doesn't make a difference if you're religious or not religious or where you come from. So the siren is waking us up that if you want to be in the shelter and be protected, you need to all be together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Halavai will bring Mashiach today, tomorrow, if we could take that lesson. It's all he's waiting for. That's it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Wallerstein Rabbi Klatzko, for your timely words. As always, we all really appreciate. Klaus really appreciates it. And we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, this very special moving program.
1 second. Before we finish, I want to give a plug also for dailygiving.org. We are Shabbat.com. We are recipients. But more than that, I believe in the cause. It's just such an amazing cause for Achdus, like Rabbi Wallerstein said. Instead of taking your favorite, you take vetted organizations that are doing tremendous work. I look every night to see which organization is getting, because it's so exciting. They're taka deserving there, and it turns out they all are, because Klal Yisrael does such great things. So you should go to dailygiving.org and definitely donate. You won't even feel it. Who feels $1 a day? Nobody feels $1 a day.
Rabbi, imagine that $1 goes to Shabbos, which you do so beautifully to bring Jews into Shabbos. At the same time, the ranch in Bethel, which is a residential treatment center for girls that are really struggling with mental health, $1 goes to that also. So it's like totally across the spectrum. Totally. Amazing.
Wow. We should be Zaycha. Tshuva, Tefillah, Tzedakah. You can be sure. If this is your tzedakah, I always say you got to be choosy when it comes to your tzedakah, because you're like putting it in an Al Gore lockbox. You have to be old to know what I'm talking about. But like you're putting it away, and when Hashem opens up that lockbox, you want to know that you gave to good causes. So this is just a bracha to Klal Yisrael, dailygiving.org, and you should all be gebenched. Everyone should be.
Thanks so much. Yeah, as Rabbi Klatzko say, tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah. So the tshuva part, we can take the messages that Rabbi Klatzko, Rabbi Wallerstein mentioned tonight to really take it to heart and apply it to our lives. Tefillah, we had the moving Tehillim led by Rabbi Klatzko, and we shouldn't only say Tehillim tonight, but every single day we should all say consistent Tehillim, whether you're going to say 1 a day, 5 a day, 10 a day, however many a day, whatever we could do. And obviously tzedakah, we can fulfill it by going dailygiving.org. I want to thank Chazaq, Hakel, Mordechai Gelber, really appreciate Shabbat.com, Torah Anytime for streaming, or Nava, and Daily Giving. And we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And we should only hear Basaras Tones.